In this chapter, you'll learn about the disk filing system your Apple III uses to give you very powerful control over your information. You'll learn about character and block devices and directories and path names. In the last chapter, you learned how to copy the entire contents of a volume. However, as you begin work with your Apple III, you'll need to be able to find specific sections of disks where information is stored. Those sections are called files. Essentially, a file is an orderly named collection of information. Files must have names so you can find them easily. We'll show you how a properly written path name can allow you to quickly locate any file on a volume or any volume in your collection of disks. Later, when you are running a program such as Apple Writer 3, for example, you might want to arrange your correspondence according to the date you wrote certain letters, or by the names of the people you wrote letters to. Or in VisiCalc, you might have a cash flow statement for one department in your business and a construction budget estimate for a new building. By using the proper device and path names, you could file each of these different collections of information under their own names on a volume. All applications programs that you'll be running on your Apple III, such as Apple Writer and VisiCalc, use the filer the same way. This chapter is important because you will be working with procedures that we'll cover here every day. The first thing we'll do is examine the contents of the system demonstration disk you are using for the console demonstration. It'll give us an example of the way individual files are contained on any volume. Locate the system demonstration disk and hold it aside for a moment. Go ahead and reboot your system utilities by holding down the Control key while you press the Reset key. We're going to work with the file handling commands right now, so select the line labeled File Handling Commands. Notice that after a few seconds, a new menu comes on the screen. The upper left screen display tells you that you are in the File Handling Commands menu. The prompt line tells you to press Escape if you don't want this menu and want to get back to the main menu. It also still shows the Open Apple ? Command for help. The inverse video line, once again, can be moved up or down and is repeated along the bottom of your screen as you move the box. Since you have already loaded the contents of the utilities disk into random access memory of your Apple, you don't need the disk in the disk drive anymore. You're now running the utilities program from RAM. So remove the utilities disk from the built-in drive and replace it with a system demonstration disk and close the door. We're now going to take a look at the files on your system demonstration master disk. Use the up or down arrow key to select the command List Files from the menu. When you have selected that line, press Return. The prompt line now tells you to press Return to accept or press Escape to exit to the File menu. Now notice that the inverse video block has moved down to the right of the left bracket and the characters period D2. And again, the prompt is telling you to press Return to accept this default value. Don't press Return. In this case, the default value of point D2 is asking you the following message. Do you want to list the directory information of the files contained on disk drive 2 of your computer? Since we're only using the built-in drive for this exercise, you need to change the default value to point D1. Type in point D1 now and press Return. Now the program is asking you how many directory levels you want to list. We haven't defined directory levels just yet, so let's just ask for all levels. Press Return to accept the All default. Now the program is asking you where to send the listing. The default value will send the listing to the console. However, you could send the directory listing to the printer to make a paper copy of the files by typing "printer," or to a silent type printer by typing "silent type," or to another disk file by typing "D2/ and the name of the file. For now, let's just list to the video display by pressing Return to accept the default value point console. Press Return. The disk drive should start whirring, the red in use light comes on, and after a few seconds, this display is on your screen. It is a listing of the files contained on this particular volume. Let's examine this listing of the files and what that list shows. Notice that the top line contains a slash symbol, then the title of a particular disk you have in the drive. That is called the volume name. Volume is the name given to each disk. On pre-programmed software packages, it is a name pre-programmed by the writer. On your own disks, it is a name you could assign to the disk, or a name that you could change at any time by running another utility program from the device handling menu on your utilities disk. The volume name is followed by a series of column headers. Right below the volume name is a list of the files contained on your disk. Notice that the first 3 files have file names that sound very familiar. Right there at the beginning is a listing of the 3 essential files for any boot disk: the SOS kernel file, the SOS driver file, and the SOS interpreter file. Following the file names is a column called size. This column tells you the number of blocks of characters taken up by a particular file. A block consists of 512 characters. Rather than simply moving a character at a time, some of the devices used with your Apple move data in blocks of 512 characters. Those devices are called block devices. Your disk drive is a block device. Neither your keyboard nor monitor are block devices because they deal with characters around one at a time. When you type on the keyboard, you are typing 1 character at a time. The console, therefore, is called a character device. The next 2 columns show a date and a time. These columns get that information from a program on your utilities disk called Set Time and Date. You can use this program every time you start a new session with your Apple III to give the date and time. This is helpful since it will update all the files you used during that session, and you will have a record of when you last updated. And that will be your default date until you update again. The file type column can tell you quite a bit of information about the program residing in that particular file. There can be several file types. SOS file means the file contains the operating system files. The word data means the file is written in binary data. You'll learn about binary data in the next chapter. Passtext means it is a file of characters written in Apple Pascal containing certain formatting data. Passcode means it is a machine language file, a step up from on-off binary pulses. Basic prog means the file is written in the language BASIC. ASCII is a file of characters corresponding to the industry standard ASCII code. Directory means that it is a subdirectory file or has many parts. Font means it is a character set or alphabet letters file. And photo means that it's a screen image or picture file. The column EOF means the number of characters that can be read from the last block in the file, and physical size tells the number of blocks physically occupied by the file. Remember, a block is 512 characters. You can find out more detailed information in the SOS reference manual. The list of files that's on your screen now is only the first part of the file listing. The rest can be scrolled up by pressing the Y key in response to the question on the bottom of the list. Go ahead and press the Y key now. The file listing is also called a catalog, and that's really what it is, a catalog of information and data contained in a specific volume. In fact, in the Apple Writer 3 program, you can call up this directory of files by simply doing a Control-O command, then selecting number 1 to get the catalog. You'll see the directory. So far, we've been concerned with the files that are contained on a disk volume, which can be also called a block device. But files can be stored in other places in your Apple. Character devices can also hold files. Your operating system treats data and information held on such devices as the console, the printer, and the serial port as files. You can output a file to a printer or transfer a file from the console to a printer. Or if you're using your Apple III as a remote terminal, connected by telephone lines to another computer, you can transfer files from that other computer onto a volume in a disk drive. Your Apple III operating system is very sophisticated, as its name implies, and will allow you a lot of versatility once you get accustomed to it. One of the most important concepts to understand about your Apple's filing system is the use of path names to locate and direct files and transfers of files. A path name is a specific route you give your Apple III to search for a file that is located at a specific location. Whether the file is on a block device, such as a disk, or on a character device, such as your console, there is a specific way to tell your Apple to find that file. You can think of the way path names work by imagining the outline form you used in school when you had to outline a chapter or a book. Remember how you were taught the order in which sections were supposed to be listed. Each individual element fit into an order that could be broken down into a list. A quick glance at any part of the list told you where something was located. Your Apple III's filing system works very much the same way, and a path name is simply a string of local names separated by slashes that can identify where a particular section is located. To find tomatoes on your outline, you could have specified a path to tomatoes like this: main title, chapter 2, intro, second paragraph, tomatoes. Remember how you told your computer to find the volume that contained the directory you were looking for when we started to list the files in the last exercise? You started by telling your computer that it could start to find that file by looking on disk drive 1. You changed the default value of point D2 to point D1. And when you wanted to list all of the files to the console, you used the default value of point console. The period got the Apple's attention. Remember the old story about slapping the donkey to get his attention? Well, once you've got your Apple's attention, you can tell it on which device it can find the data. In this case, you abbreviate D for drive. A slash symbol is always used within path names to break up the parts of the path names. Following the slash, the volume name comes next. For instance, if you were to direct your computer to a disk that you had named Jack's Files and placed in drive 2, the first part of the path name would look like this: point D2 slash Jack's Files. Notice, however, that there is no apostrophe in Jack's name. Also notice that there is a period between the word Jack's and Files. A path name must never contain any spaces between letters. In addition, a path name must not start with a number. Also, a path name cannot contain an apostrophe, nor may individual local names between the slashes contain more than 15 characters. These three path names are legal because they follow the rules of syntax governing path names. Notice that upper and lowercase letters can be mixed. Actually, you can mix them or use only upper or only lowercase letters. Your computer doesn't read whether a path name is in upper or lowercase. It only reads the letters. You could type in a path name one time in all capital letters, then type in the same path name at another time in all small letters and get to the same place in your files, assuming, of course, that the syntax that you used is correct. Incidentally, syntax is very important in all computer work. When you start to work in programming, you'll find that the exact usage, placement, and order of characters, numbers, words, even spaces can be vital to the program's success. The proper and exact usage is called syntax and is as important as knowing a language for programming. As a matter of fact, proper syntax is a good part of computer programming. So far, we've written a device name and a volume name. The next part of a path name is its directory name. A proper path name to locate the specific file labeled SOS driver would look like this. So far, this path name could be used to tell your computer to locate the SOS driver file on the system demonstration disk located in drive 1. This would be a proper path name by the rules of syntax, but it actually contains more information than your computer needs to find that file. Here's why. Your Apple III's filing system automatically assumes that if you are calling for a directory file on a particular device, that you have inserted the correct volume into that device. If you haven't, you'll get this error message when you type in the path name with only the device name and directory name, but don't have the correct disk in the drive. If you do have the correct disk in the drive, your Apple will not require the volume name, and it will take you right to the directory level or the subdirectory level that your path name has asked for. Therefore, the correct path name to get to the SOS driver file could look like either this or this. Your Apple III's filing system will automatically look for the SOS driver file on the volume located in drive 1 if the path name looks like this. Or, with this path name, it will search through every device available to find a volume name specified this way. Your Apple III's filing system has the ability to organize files even further. Suppose you had a correspondence file that had this path name, and you wish to file a letter that was written to the Smith brothers. A further subdirectory file path name could be added that might look like this. And even further, you could file a specific letter written on a particular date with this path name. Here's how it might look if you listed that volume's files on your console screen. By using the path name, you can send your computer first to the device, then to the particular volume in that device, then to the specific directory on that volume, then to specific subdirectories under the main directory, then to a specific file in a subdirectory. Each of the names after the volume name is called a local name, so you can have a very sophisticated filing system, yet access specific files in that system quite easily by using the path names. Your Owner's Guide manual has a section devoted to using prefix and partial path names to speed your work along. As you start using your computer more and find long path names bothersome, we recommend that you consult your manual for this simplified system. Many individual applications programs have their own modifications to the filing system to help you get into files easily and quickly. You'll begin to get familiar with them and to recognize the similarities and requirements of your Apple III filing system as you work with them more. Just remember that a path name is the route your computer must take to get to a specific place you want to go, and that you must use the proper rules of syntax when writing a path name. And don't forget that path names are used for all devices connected to your Apple III, not just the disk drives. If you want to print the contents of a file onto paper on your printer, just use the File Handling Command program on your utilities disk. When the program asks you where you want to copy the file to, you type in Point Printer as the device if you are using the RS-232 serial port, or Point Silent Type as the device if you are using the Silent Type printer. In this chapter, you have learned how your Apple III handles files and interacts with devices connected to it. You also found out what a path name is and how to read directory information. In the next chapter, you'll find out more about software.